Welcome to Living by Oak Values. Gary, the superior mailman, and I will guide you through aligning your actions with your core beliefs. We are excited to share stories, insights, and values that guide our lives. Whether you're a longtime listener or just new here, welcome. Visit northmancoaching.com for your free toolbox and updates. Let's dive in. Happy listening.
All right, folks, guess who's back? Shady's back. Yep, it's us, me and Rob. We are here, still fired up about ambition. Last time we cracked open the vault on what it really takes to chase big dreams. And if you thought that was good, oh, just wait. Today we are diving back with Paul and Matt, two guys who have enough ambition to power a rocket to Mars and still find time for coffee and breaks. So buckle up. We are talking next level drive, crushing obstacles, and let's be honest, probably a few moments where we realize ambition sometimes makes us bite off more than we can chew. Get ready, because this episode is packed with insights, laughs, and the fuel you need to go after what you really want. Let's jump back in.
Like, if you had a fear yesterday, how would you overcome it today?
Well, I think that is one of the most powerful things. What you just said, I think, is the most powerful thing, particularly with men, is the self-doubt. And I think, honestly, the only way to overcome that is by successfully doing it, right? Confidence comes from successfully completing a task, right? That's the definition in the dictionary. Mm-hmm. Success, I mean, everyone, sometimes you just have to, how many days, for example, in that example, and it's happened to all of us, it's happened to me, right? You've got to make a phone call that could be difficult. You've got to do something that you know has to be done, right? There's like, no one's going to come rescue you when you're a grown man. No one's going to force you to get up and go to work, you know, especially when the world we're in now. Like, I'm 54 years old. I know that, obviously we're all kind of in that 40 to 60 area. Our generation was hammered on that, this is what it is to be a man. And so overcoming that fear of failure every day is the biggest challenge. And I think that it's an ongoing thing when you have a moving target as your job, right? So like if you're a fireman, for example, each of your realities is similar for the most part. I have a really close friend of ours that's a retired fire lieutenant in New Hampshire, in Londonderry. I would talk to him about all kinds of crazy stuff. I'd see they got 3 feet of snow. I saw you guys got a ton of snow up in Rhode Island. And he's retired recently. So after he retired, he went and worked. He called himself a bottle monkey. He was like part-time at like some liquor place in New Hampshire. Yep. But he recently, so now he's working at a urgent care place and he loves it. In other words, his calling for 30 years, he thought he needed a break from it because but while he was gone, he was an emptier guy. Like he was feeling like he was not contributing and he was not helping people. And that was his life mission, was to help. And so I talked to him on the phone and it's an amazing thing. But I think that overcoming the daily questioning of your ability and your focus and your talent and your skill is the most underrated challenge that men face, and women too. I'm not saying women don't, but I just know, like, speaking for myself, that's a real one.
You got to remind yourself that you're the shit every single morning. That you're the shit. Yeah. I'm the shit. Nobody's better than me.
And listen,
that's hard to do.
It is, but it's funny because one of the things, my brother's a disabled Marine, right? And so there are little things that get me emotional because I understand where it comes from. For example, and I know what people think this is, but I was watching one the other day, and sometimes I'll pull it up. We said reminding yourself. We joke around, but there's times where I'll come into the office and I'll say, "You're a greasy, fast 200-pound Italian tank. You're gonna eat lightning. You're gonna crap thunder." Like that's the guy from like with Rocky's whatever,
Rocky.
Mickey, the trainer guy.
Mickey, yep.
Right? But there's a scene in one of the worst movies ever, which was Rocky V when he's fighting and he says, "Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you." Right? I didn't hear no bell. And sometimes I'll say that to myself. I didn't hear no bell. Like it's not over. You know? And I think that is a fantastic what you brought. That's one of my favorite points that I've discussed anyway. Like that's really good that you brought that up because I think that fear of failure and fighting that with, fear of failure is here and maintaining your eye on the ball, like focus on the ambition of what your purpose is. They fight every day. Yeah. They fight every day.
So on the topic of fear, I have plenty of fears of not succeeding, but I keep that to myself. And that is my drive to do better. Like Matt, I tell myself I'm the shit. I can handle this. I got this. But that fear in the back of my mind is what drives me to not fall in the other direction.
So what drives you when you do fall?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Hang on. That's a good question.
It is a good question. And that's why I said that's kind of crazy. That's your motivating factor. If you're thinking about fear, which obviously you are, if it's your motivating factor, you're putting it into your subconscious mind. Am I right?
You're very right.
And it can manifest itself. Oh, yeah.
And it'll stop you getting where you need to
go.
No,
it can cripple you.
Because that's your why. So you think about it all the time.
Well,
if you're thinking about failing all the time, that can't be good.
Well, what's the worst thing that happens, right, is inaction, right? So like, look, again, weird thing, life stories, but like Coach Bobby Bowden, right? My wife graduated Florida State when I moved here. I was lucky enough to have all the coaches as my clients. And Coach Bowden used to say this funny thing, but it relates to what you're saying, Gary, which is you have to constantly tell yourself, so your struggle is similar to me, right? Obviously, your pride and the way you were brought up, right? And talking to Matt about kind of, for you guys, I see it every day, right? Because you were raised with such a badass, hardcore, stoic male figure, I don't want to say it's an issue, but it is because you were taught by your dad to not show the weakness or the indecision or the fear. So you internalize it. And so Coach Bowden used to have a thing about that, and it makes me laugh because I picture it. But he said people that have that problem, they call it whistling past the graveyard. I didn't know what the hell he meant at first, but what he said was, he goes, you're a young man and it's 2 a.m. and you're walking past the graveyard and you don't want to act like you're scared or you're nervous. So you whistle thinking that that's going to kind of make the fear go away of walking past this graveyard in the middle of the night. But I think the only answer to all of those things is action, right? You have to, for me, like I have it above my desk and there's different languages and I have all kinds of stuff everywhere. But I think the most important one I have, which is, like Matt says, you got to remind yourself, look, I'm the best there is, right? There's, and even if I'm not, if you ever see, my favorite things was I was watching this thing about Yogi Berra before, right? And his granddaughter did a documentary, which is fantastic, by the way. It includes some Met stuff. But think about this. In 2015, at the All-Star game, the All-Star game was in Cincinnati, and they introduced, this was over the loudspeaker, the greatest living baseball players, okay? And they trot out Hank Aaron, great player, Johnny Bench, great player, Sandy Koufax, great player, and Willie Mays, great player. Yogi Berra, who has 13 World Series rings, 3 MVPs, and was the best catcher in history, is on his couch in New Jersey, and his granddaughter looks over and says, hey, Grandpa, you dead yet? He goes, not yet. But it's kind of like, if you don't toot your own horn in some manner, and I'm not talking about the rah-rah, beat your chest up. I'm talking about doing what you do to the best of your ability every day will instill a confidence that will allow you to push past those fears and put past those doubts. And once you overcome them, you become a different animal.
That's funny.
Absolutely.
You know,
I just landed on confidence, and I was reading the back, just the backs of them. And as we're talking, great faith in oneself or one's ability. And I'm like, that's what we're talking about. I love confidence.
but I think that's the challenge for, you have that moving target of kind of where you are, you know, and it really is a strange thing because, you know, kind of on that subject, right? I get fascinated by people that understand who they are.
So
you know,
there's something wrong. That's what you're saying.
Well, we know there's something wrong with it.
That's what you just said.
Listen, we could do a whole podcast on what's wrong with Matthew Hults. So let's be honest here.
That would be a 5-parter.
Because of the way my dad was,
You have options. There are pros to that, right? He taught you to not be a bitch and whine and cry. But you still do anyway.
But what?
No, but the other side of it is the work ethic that you got and the lessons of what a strong, intelligent man is. Those lessons. I have never had, other than the shit talking that I got from him today on the text messages, I haven't had long conversations with him, but I feel like I know who he is because of who you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what is it? The acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. And so the Bible says that you judge a tree by its fruit. And I think that when you get to the point where you become successful, that fear goes away. And I do one last thing on that subject, because I think it's good, but I wanted to bring this up because to this day, it fascinates me with mindsets, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a guy that I used to work with, and he's a huge guy. I mean, I'm 6'4", 225 now. He's 6'4", 375. Okay. And this guy was the most like gregarious, loud, confident guy in our office space. Okay. And he was a single guy. My wife is an assistant principal at a high school. And so just in talking, I said, hey, you know, would you be interested? She says to me, oh, is there anybody that you would set us up with? Okay. And so I said, yeah. So we arrange it. He sends a picture, whatever. My wife brings one of these cute teachers out. We go to meet. Let me tell you something. It turns out that this guy who at the office, he was a master at it. His family started this business for 30 years. But when I tell you, and I didn't find this out till the following day when I went back and talked to his dad, I had to carry the conversation. She was a cool, fun chick. When I tell you, he couldn't even say hello. Like, I'm like, you know, I would lead him in. Hey, Will, you know, what do you think about this? Will, what do you think about this? Nothing. We went axe throwing. It was literally, and she was into him. And I go, and the dad says to me, oh, Paul, you don't understand. Up until 3 or 4 years ago, if he went into a grocery store and there wasn't a like self-checkout line, he fucking wouldn't go shopping. This is how bad he is in generally talking to people. But this is why he works 15 hours a day and he's unhealthy in his life. But he's a master at what he. So that's one item. You know what I'm saying? So he's a master. He literally. And now granted, you know, his dad did tell me they spent like 100. I'm not kidding, $100,000 in the Grant Cardone training programs. But when I tell you, but someone that is an expert, I mean, he is an expert at what they do, knows everything, knows the laws. But outside in a restaurant in a social setting, he was an infant, and it only is because success happened for him. You know, and so he's confident only in that realm of his life.
So great.
It is, isn't it?
No.
Men are so confident at their jobs that when it comes to their love life or their family, they can't handle it because it's not work. And as far as what you were saying earlier about my old man, yes, he definitely instilled great work ethic in us.
Okay.
I mean, I've been working since I was 10 years old, probably, or something like that. I had a paper route, and I haven't stopped working since. Same as Matt, we can't keep a relationship for the life of us.
Yep. Well, and that's where, like, look, honestly, I was similar. My dad worked 7 days a week. He drove a taxi in New York City. Mm-hmm. I think that the only thing is similar. Like I can't remember 5 times that my dad told me he loved me until he was much older, right before he died. Like he was him, my mother and they were my children for the last 20 years of their life. Like I had to pay for, like they had nothing. But again, it's just what you do, right? You take care of your family. Like money is nothing. This is my mother, this is my father. So the show of affection and the way in which it manifests.
Mm-hmm.
It also, we joke about it, but my older brother, the disabled Marine, he and Matt are this similar. Both of them, moderately handsome guy, moderately, maybe not even moderately, maybe, he likes to think he is, but like he's so much to offer, right? Other than his crazy ADHD and he's like a squirrel. Look, a squirrel. But look at the attraction, the crazy chicks that he attracts. They're out of their fucking minds.
Every one of them.
And for me, again, because I am an assertive personality, like some of the stuff that happens drives me bananas. And he doesn't want to upset the apple cart because, he's scarred because the first crazy one kidnapped his friggin' kids for 3 years. So, with no consequences. So I think that, so for you, finding the balance of being what the world expects you to be, especially with the strong beard game, and showing vulnerability outside of the workplace, it's got to be tough as shit for you because it's not the language you were taught on how. What do you think? I don't know.
What I had to do was I got into meditation and I had to rewire my brain, and it wasn't until I could express my feelings and actually talk to people that my relationships got better. And it's still every day it's a battle, not a battle, but it's every day I'm honing my skills of balancing my work and my personal life and excelling in both worlds.
And I commend you for that, by the way, because listen, when you have been programmed for the first 20 something years of your life, it's hard to unprogram that no matter what anyone says. It's like the Shawshank Redemption part, right? Which is like Brooks Hadlin knew it well, right? He was in there for 60 years. He can't pee without say so. He can't. It's similar to that. Like when I look back at some of the behaviors that are limiting behaviors to what your partner was talking about in overcoming that fear, I think that sometimes, it goes back to like in India, they have that caste system, right? Where you're like surpassing what your parents and their parents achieved is not achievable in the common world. Like it's not something to really aspire to. Whereas I think that everyone says that they want a good man and they want this and they want that. But I feel like even today, people of our age, and I don't know what it's like to be out there in the dating world. I've been married. It's going to be 25 years in May. Her birthday was yesterday. And I struggle to your point about showing the feelings and giving her what I know she needs. Mm-hmm. But I have to remind myself because it's not what I'm programmed to give. And after 25 years of marriage and almost 30 years together, she's great because she accepts me for who I am and has subtle ways to remind me non-verbally that, I've kind of been missing this portion of, maybe, hey, you look pretty today. Like, I don't care what people think. And again, that's another gift of getting when you get older, it releases you from a lot of that, like we were talking about earlier, that expectation externally of what, but even though I say that, right, the back of me is having some of the Ogmandino, which is, of course, it's small bullshit. Like we all care about what people think. But I think when you get older and to some degree successful in whatever it is that you're doing, I think that the amount of people that you care about's opinions shrinks. I tell Matt all the time, you know what I mean? Like I say to myself, those that mind don't matter and those that matter don't mind. And it's the truest thing.
It is.
That I feel like, and this is where, again, so I talk to my wife about this all the time, right? So like So she's a teacher and she's sweet. She is honestly, not being biased. Matt will tell you, even if I'm not here, she's a giver. She will do anything for anyone. She's the best. Kids love her, but she has trouble developing adult relationships with other women. And so it's not like I go out and have drinks every week like I did when I was 25, because again, that's shit that I'm not even interested in anymore, right? Even Matt and I'm like, hey, you want to go get something? Nah, let's just hang out. Let's talk. Let's work. Let's do something else. But she'll say, hey, they're having a happy hour on Friday. Can I go? I'm like, babe, not only should you go, you should be the first one there. You should bring hors d'oeuvres. Like, put yourself out there that you're available for an open friendship. And that's the thing. She also is tough. So she has that tough exterior that is not welcoming to that type of conversation. You know what I mean? In other words, she's not standing there, being drunk and goofy. So I think that you attract what you put out there a little bit, right? If you're smiling, absolutely. Everybody wants to be around like the life of the party. And I wish that for her. She's 53 years old yesterday. She has a couple of friends, but they're 400 miles away, and she doesn't see them, and they speak once a month, and they go away twice a year. Like, that's not fulfilling in life, And
so I know that I had to start doing small things to say, hey, Robert, good job for going out and walking every day. Even though I didn't want to go walking every day. That was stupid. What is, or ways that you celebrate your achievements when you do something ambitious? And maybe how can you help your wife do that too?
Good question.
That's a great question. And it's funny you use that example, because literally, so we have where we are, there is a path, a walking path. We're lucky. I look out this window and I can see the Disney fireworks. In fact, they just started. For about a month and a half, Matt and I would go walking every night, and we would stretch halfway to some benches. And it's about a 44 minutes. Yeah. And we would talk about our day and what happened. And then Christmas happened, and he went up to see your folks, and Christmas happened. And we keep saying, hey, want to get that walk? And it's just not happening. And so how do you reward yourself? I don't think that I did enough, but I do know, thinking about that exact thing, that I do beat myself up every day I don't go. I find that I get the most satisfaction when I say to myself, I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. I'm going to go for my walk. I'm going to go for my swim, and I'm going to come take a shower. I'm going to work my balls off. If I get to 10 in the morning and I've done all those things, there is a feeling of accomplishment that I get. That's what keeps me on the path. And so all it takes for me, they say it takes 6 weeks to develop the habit. 2 days of successfully completing that. I don't know that I pat myself on the back in some kind of a material way, but I do know that I recognize that I followed through on what I said I was going to do. And I think that there is that builds confidence, right? That I can do this, and so I think that's a really good concept and a thought, because I don't think I pat myself on the back enough, to be honest. When I do what I set out to do, continually.
Not recently, but you will.
Based on that question, how can you reward your wife for going out?
That's probably part of my blind spot, because you know what the answer to that question is? I have no idea. Okay. I don't know how that is a compelling question, because I literally have no idea what that would look like. Because I would have to ask myself, what would she want from me that doesn't look like I'm patronizing her, or giving her like the phony pat on the back, or like the great, like, you know what I mean? And maybe it's part of me thinking that she would think that I don't do what she would want. Like, I don't congratulate her because I would think that she would think it was bullshit and phony. And so rather than dealing with any of that, I'll just do nothing.
So that kind of goes back to what you were saying is how you were raised. You're putting those expectations because that's how you were taught to praise somebody, right?
That's correct. That is absolutely. So what would you think about that? Like, what would you, in that situation, how would you, in the same thing, promote doing more of that, and then a kind of supporting that effort, and then saying, I think it's really great. You kind of stepped outside your comfort zone. This is going to only make you more of what you already are. Like, once people see who you are, but like, so what are your guys' thoughts on like encourage more openness?
First of all, I think personally that it's next to impossible because she's a woman.
Yeah.
So we have no idea how to be.
Right.
Because they're
you're right.
they're animals.
There's no doubt.
They're different animals.
Yeah.
Right? They're wired totally. We don't understand. We're not supposed to come on. And B, you're right. People are fake. There's a lot of fake people out there.
Tom.
So to be able to decipher that shit in this world is not easy.
Well, especially as adults. Like, I feel like the heart, like trying to develop an adult great friendship. How many do you have? Really?
I
like,
agree.
I mean, I think that unless you have, and you can't force the time. I've known you since I'm 11. You can't force that. And so that's the part where I feel like my wife.
I think the best thing you can do to reward her would be with affection and or sex. Because I say this is totally awkward for me because we deal with this in reverse. A lot of the guys we coach, they're married and it's not a good marriage, but they only have their wife. They've lost all their male friends and they are up their wife's butt sideways. So when we tell them to go out with other guys, try to make new friendships, but just go out with other guys. Do not include her. They come home feeling like more of a man, and they usually get some.
Yep. And you know what? I could see that. You know what I would say? I would take that a step further, is I would encourage them so that it doesn't look like they're going out drinking, is some kind of a sporting thing. Because I do know that one of the things that did help is when I was younger, I used to play in a softball league down there, and I met all these cool dudes. I played in the basketball league. And so she got to hang out with the wives and the girlfriends. And I think that it was better than, like, even then, it wouldn't be like she'd go out with them alone. But when like a group of us went out, she was cool with all the girls. Like, but when the kids came, but I think what you guys are doing is really, I think it's a needed niche, because I think that the hardest thing adult men that were raised in that era that we're talking about is having open, honest conversations with other men without shame or fear of repercussion or ridicule or any of that. It can be illuminating. They're like, just in our conversation here, there have definitely been really good kind of, things that make you go, right? Like, damn, that's good. That's a good insight. Because I think that having those kind of, again, my why, or what is my goal? What's my focus? As hunter-gatherers, success for us, no matter what it is, it's always the successful completion of a task. Whether it's wiping my ass properly or taking a shower, or like you said earlier, setting that schedule and completing that schedule. There is a satisfaction that happens after you've done that hard work. You've made that tough call. You've done that thing that you promised you were going to do. You made that call. Even little things, like my brother is in Canada. He's very sick. And I've been meaning to send a really good message to my sister-in-law because she's been a great advocate for him, but I haven't. And it's been 3 days since I wanted to do it. And I feel like a reason why I didn't do it is I didn't want to, I don't know, maybe I didn't know what to say to make it sound so that I wouldn't be embarrassed or something that I sent it. But I think if it comes from the heart, it doesn't matter. And that comes back to that, like, those that mind don't matter and those that matter don't mind. If they know you, they know what your intention is, My brother's Marine friend used to say, my favorite saying too, because I talk to this about, like, with Matt all the time, a friend, everyone has different interpretations of a friend, but the definition of a friend is someone that will defend you in your absence. That's the truest friend in the world. Someone that will not allow somebody just to be cool. They'll defend your name in your absence is someone that's a guy you want in your foxhole. And I think that I always think about that when when I say to people, like, who's your best friend? And I'm like, oh, who could you call at 3 a.m. to bury a body? Right. Well, yeah, but sometimes it's not the guy that you think it would be.
Right.
Like I have a friend that I've had since I'm 13. But if I did that, he would shit his pants and he'd probably cower in his bathroom corner. I think that it's a really cool thing, and I think that it's definitely a great thing. How did you guys come up with the idea to do this?
We both went through divorce, and we're part of a group that is similar to doing what we do, and we just I don't know, started helping other people out.
I think
since we were helped.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I think that any idea to keep your mind focused and moving in the right direction, whatever that direction is, whether it's struggling to kind of be alone at home after this.
What you and Matt do as far as the walks go that you were doing,
Yep.
that is, we recommend that to all of our clients and anybody that we work with, because that guy time, it helps so much. And I would have, while my marriage was ending, if someone said, you need more male friends, I would be like, dude, I'm not gay.
Hey,
As I've moved on, you need to talk to guys. You don't want to bring your issues to women.
100%.
Here,
No, but
it's either that or nobody talking to nobody.
well, no,
Talking to yourself.
and listen,
That's it.
that's the one thing that I learned. Again, especially as you guys might have already known, I am a very strong type A personality, and I'm very big, and I'm very trained in ways to hurt people. So we are taught as men. You tell me the problem. Where is it? I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah.
And the reality is that women want to be heard.
Yeah. Wow. You can be a coach, man.
All they want is to be. They just want to be heard sometimes. And there are times I have to fight myself, because there are times, that's the confusing part, because there are times when the wife wants you to kill. So the trick in life is you're either the hammer or the nail, and the trick is figuring out which one you are when. That's it, right? Today I'm the hammer, tomorrow I'm the nail. That's actually a good point.
My problem is caring. I don't care.
No, he's not lying.
If it's me,
Well-
I don't care.
Well, but you know what? But it's funny. He says he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right. But he does, and I'll tell you why he doesn't care though. It's because the women he's been with are out of their fucking minds crazy. And so, like, I watched him. You guys have no idea. I watched him at the end with Tasha. This dude is working 14-hour days. He is coming home. He was raising her daughter, not his yet. Maddie wasn't here yet. Then she's going through this pregnancy. She is absolutely bipolar, insane, psychotic. Listen, I was there when she got Baker acted. Like the cops took her from the house. And all of this stuff happens, and I'm listening to him. We're on the phone. He's saying, Tasha, why don't we lay down? Why don't you lay down? I'll take care of it. That just makes her angrier. And so that's the other thing that I learned. One of the things that I do when, like, my wife used to raise her voice, is I would lower mine. Mm-hmm. I do it in my sales. Like, someone starts yelling, I'm like, why are you yelling? Why are you speaking that way? There's absolutely no reason to that. Right? Margaret Thatcher says when they start calling you names, they've lost the argument. Right? They have no more factual argument. So he would do that. I would hear him. So I know that he has the capacity to be all in. Mm-hmm. But he now is gun shy, because he absolutely attracts the craziest bitches in the history of mankind. Like, the one of them, I met her. She's nice. I spoke to her. She's sweet. But I already know that she kidnapped his fucking kids. And I've seen the text messages, her sending him like blackmail pictures, going a picture of her and them going, this is who you could be seeing if you didn't fuck that whore. Like, what the hell? Like, where did you find her? In the gutter? Like, where were you at? Like, were you at like the strip club in the porthole and you found this like piece of gutter shit?
Facebook dating.
It's his gift, and they're all crazy.
So my advice, I got two more things for you guys. This is never going to end. When I'm in that situation where she's yelling at me or I did something wrong, instead of trying to fix it, I just simply, and I do this with my daughter all the time, what is it you would like me to do?
That's a great question.
Because especially with my daughter, like, she'll come home and tell me the story about how these kids did this and that. So my first instinct is I can go beat up some 10-year-old girls. I can go to the school, talk to the principal. I can find where these kids live and talk to their parents. Or I can leave it alone. Maybe she just wants to be heard. So I just ask, what is it you would like me to do? And that usually works.
You know what else is the most powerful sentence in the history of mankind? It is the single best diffusing statement in history. Get a pen. I'm not kidding. This comes directly from Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Weren't you just reading that, Rob?
I did read that book. Yep, it's a good book.
What's the quote?
The quote is, I understand where you're coming from. If I were in your shoes, I would feel I could see myself feeling the exact same way.
Yeah.
Because people don't want sympathy. They want empathy.
Yes.
And so sympathizing is almost pitying them. Empathy, you're encouraging them to, because, Benjamin Franklin said it 300 years ago, right? He goes, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Human beings do not like being told that they're wrong, right? So you never want to butt heads with people. So that's why those phrases like, I understand that. I can see exactly where you're coming from. But Dale Carnegie, that line, especially to put out a fire or to solve a problem, you listen to them, nod their head and say, you know what? I understand where you're coming from. And if I were in your shoes, I could see where you'd feel exactly the same way. And then they'll just start, it's an almost subconscious way to encourage them to continue. Tell me more. Tell me about that. Because people's favorite subject is themselves.
I care. I care.
I think that's my favorite thing. Again, for me, when it comes to friends, I've been blessed. Matt's become my friend in the last 10 years. And I tell people, man, especially men, when it comes to friends, I would rather have 4 fucking quarters than 100 pennies, And I think that my biggest hope is, I think that the man that Matt is and the man that he wants to be are not that far apart. And I want to be there when they meet. And that's part of going back, conquering that fear of, fuck, where do I even begin? Number one, at almost 50 years old, right? I'm a shitbag. I'm grumpy. I'm jaded. Like some girl is going to have to be willing to wade through the cobwebs and the spiders and the shit, to say, oh, there he is in there, So now, but you guys, this has been a lot of fun, man. I think you guys are really onto something, and I would love to do this with you guys in the future. Definitely pretty cool.
Oh, thank
Absolutely.
you. We appreciate it. I loved your answers. You answered everything very well. Yep.
You guys' insight is welcome. It really is good to see somebody that's out there that's kind of, seen some, other shit in the world. Because, right, we're products of our environments, and learning about the other environments is fascinating to me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I love it.
Self-rescue, baby. Got to do it yourself.
Literally. And you know what the cool thing is? There's all those sayings that are out there and they're cliche. But for me, the whole thing about, people are conditioned, right? And I learned this being in the stock business, right? Listen, I don't care who it is. Human nature, right? We applaud success, but subconsciously you root for failure, right? Because you always hear people out there, a lot of them, right? Which is they make excuses for other people's greatness or success, right? Oh, he got lucky. Oh, they did it with Donald Trump. Oh, he got lucky. His dad gave him $1 million. Yeah, but he's worth $7 billion. So, he got lucky, won the lottery. Yeah, he got lucky.
So I'm going to end it with one last question.
We have another one? No.
Well, not really. This is one I'm kind of pushing the boundaries with this question. So if you were to go, can you say that you really lived the life you wanted to live?
Wow, that was a dramatic episode. Tune in next week for part 3. If this topic resonated with you and you'd like to dive deeper, we'd love to hear from you. Share your story and connect with us by booking a free session at northmancoaching.com. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. We're grateful to have you on this journey with us. If you've enjoyed this show, don't forget to subscribe to Living by Oak Values. And if you're feeling generous, leave us a review. Your support helps us continue these important conversations. For more updates and exclusive content, join our Facebook group, Northman Legacy Group. Follow us on YouTube and TikTok, or visit us at northmancoaching.com. We'll be back next week with part 3 of another powerful episode, so stay tuned. Until then, keep living your values and embracing the journey. Take care and stay authentic.